Good morning, everyone. Noah and I are here on time at the same time to start the show. It is an excellent morning. Lots of things are amazing. None of those things are in my real life, but everything in Warhammer is pretty great for the most part. I am unbelievably hyped to be here for another episode of Competitive Advantage. Welcome, Mr. Noah. How you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
No, I asked you how you're doing.
I know that's just for some reason there's an ingrained response when people say how are you, I immediately say how are you back. I don't know. I'm actually doing fantastic this morning.
You are doing fantastic.
I am in a good mood. I can't say where yet, but I got a job.
Yay!
Very excited. I also woke up to the random gift of Imperial Knights points reductions, which we will talk about, which I'm super excited about. Yeah, I'm in a good mood. It's a good day.
All right. You know, I want to get all the negative energy out.
Okay.
Then we're gonna fill that negative energy with positivity.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. Over the last week, my son totaled my truck.
Oh,
he's
no.
Okay. He's okay, so we just can be mad about it.
Okay, cool. Sick.
If he was injured, then I have to be worried. But since he's not injured and he just ruined my truck and there's a lawyer was needed, because of all that, I'm only mad. Fine. I love my truck. I loved my truck, incidentally. We discovered fleas on the dogs, which we've never had in a decade of having dogs. All of them. My laptop died yesterday. It looks like it's a hard drive failure. It has been a week. This is what I would say. All of these things have happened in a number of days. So, oh yeah, and we're trying to sell our house because I am unemployed and I would like to not go back to the career I was in, which means I need to financially rebuild my family. It's really effing important that we sell our house, much like how Noah needed to find a job. We went back and forth with these people last week. They came to the house multiple times. They asked a whole bunch of questions, all queuing us up to offer us 20% below asking.
No.
And I was like, it happened at 8:00 at my kid's graduation, which was incidentally 24 hours after he wrecked our truck. At my kid's high school graduation, it was a weird week. I got texts. I got the message about this quote, this offer, and I wanted to send them the sassiest email. If you had told me that you could not afford our house, we would not have spent so much energy with you. Anyways, there are some new people that are interested. We're supposed to get an offer today. They seem like lovely people. It could be that everything that I need starts on its path today.
Hey.
Once we get an offer on our house, there's no wood here for me to knock on. Pictures of wood. Okay. There's a IKEA shelf over there that's probably not real wood. It's probably pictures of wood.
Can I say a funny story related to this? It's not a story. It's just like an anecdote.
Okay.
When you say knock on wood, I have this long-running joke that someone in the Marine Corps did a long time ago, where every time someone says knock on wood, I have the impulse to knock on my crotch, like as a joke.
Because that's where your wood is.
Always there. It's like this stupid dad joke that is literally always there anytime someone says knock on wood.
Yeah, that makes sense. Every time my kids say put me before the person, me and Noah, me and Chuck, every time my kids do that, I parrot at my mom. Noah's not mean. Chuck's not mean. Because me and Noah, me and Chuck sounds like me, Noah, and me and Chuck. See, it's funny.
It is
just like yours.
Hilarious.
Right?
Yep.
I'm telling people that we are alive because I didn't do that yet.
Okay, sick.
All right, so the week has been rough, to say the least. But things could be looking better as of today. If we get an offer we can accept, I have a 30-day sprint that begins to reset my family structure. A bunch of things are changing. Significant things are changing. It's going to be insane. I'll probably slow down on content for the next few weeks if that's the case, but not this show, because I like the show. We're going to keep doing it. Okay. So that's me. Now we get to talk about Warhammer.
I love Warhammer.
I played like 20 games of 40K, 16 games, I think it is, in the past 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. And I want to talk about why I did that, but we'll do that later in the show. Noah, did you play any 40K this week?
No.
Okay, fair.
I might play 40K this weekend.
Okay. Did you think about 40K?
Kind of. I raffled off that commission.
Yeah, for a big gazillion dollars.
$1,500 actually. It ended up making $1,545. And then a person in Spokane, I don't think she minds me saying her name, Dina. She runs this podcast and this Discord called Glitter Void with a wonderful person named Jubilee. They're players in Washington. Dina won the Space Wolves, so I'll be taking them to her probably at Tacoma Open. So that's super exciting. And then I've like opened some like list creation and thought kind of things, but this is relevant to today. Is I kept like Chaos Knights look really cool, so I kept thinking about Chaos Knights, and I kept going, I wish Imperial Knights were like just a little bit closer to Chaos Knights, because I would really enjoy playing Imperial Knights at Tacoma Open just as like a throwback and something I'd be excited to do. And then, and that goes into what we'll talk about today.
Yeah. I think that while I'm struggle busing and flailing, trying to keep up with all the problems that are appearing around me, while that's happening, I think it's a little unfair that you're summoning this sort of goodwill from the universe. Other people also need the goodwill now, Noah.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I'll be clear. I know you have been going through it for quite a long time. I mean, you and I have talked a lot that we both had bouts of unemployment and all these other things have gone. And I know yours has been, I think, worse than mine. But I tell you what, the last, like since basically April 1st, when I was laid off on April 1st, I've had a nonstop stream of like things going terribly, horrifically off the rails. And in the last week, my friend has been declared cancer-free. The one who just recently, I think we're
going to call that remission, not cancer-free.
Yeah, remission. Sorry.
Those of us who have lots of family members died of cancer, I want to be sensitive to that.
Very well. Remission. Sorry.
Yeah.
So remission. Summer started. Getting a job. All these things are going right for me right now. So I'm like, so I actually don't even feel like things are good. I don't even feel like things are like good. I feel like I can just actually breathe again.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. Like, it's so interesting when things get problematic, right? And you've got multiple problems that can't be immediately solved, and then other problems that would normally be easy fall in on top, like the animals have fleas.
Yeah.
Not a normally big deal, but it means I have to treat the yard, I have to treat the room, I have to treat the carpet, I have to treat the dogs. Like, there's a lot of stuff. So like, all that stuff falls in on an already full bullshit deal with me ability. And that's why it's hard. So, and yes, Ian, we saw, and we're about to talk about, so your timing is perfect. Ian is also excited to talk about new Knights points.
Ian is apparently a wizard. He arrives exactly when he intends to.
What's that?
I said Ian is apparently a wizard. He arrives exactly when he intends to.
Maybe he's a patriarch and he was planning on coming like weeks ago.
Moment of ascension.
Exactly right. So that's all the negativity. It's out. Okay. Now we're going to fill that space with 40K because there's so much fun to talk about. I think that we can go right into the good, the bad, and the ugly, because I think that everything falls in those categories. The good. I am uncomfortable with where you're going to put this news, but I bet you have it in the good. So let's cover, why don't you cover why you're so excited?
Well, So the big thing is that also, so Chaos Knights has their official digital points in the Munitorum field manual now, which is really good. I lost Colin. He evaporated. So I'm just going to keep going, I guess, and hopefully Colin returns. So Chaos Knights has their new rules in the Munitorum field manual, and Imperial Knights has also got new points. Hey, Colin returned. And Imperial Knights also got the same points drops effectively as Chaos Knights, which is amazing because the points drops are literally like, 70, 80 points off Knights. Like, it's wild. Having that happen for both, the one tells us that we're not getting the Imperial Knights Codex nearly as soon as we think we are. Specifically, what it probably means is we're not getting it in time for Tacoma. Tacoma's in July 20th. Where that, like, we were all kind of thinking we were going to get it in time for Tacoma. It'll probably be one of those things where it, like, literally, like, comes out live the Saturday Tacoma is or something. So it's important to think, though, is that Imperial Knights was already doing well. It actually won, I think, 2 events last weekend.
And the weekend before it won an event as well.
And it's had multiple, like, undefeateds and high placings.
Yeah.
It was already doing well. And now it's have literally, like, you get right. The downside is they did get the same statistical adjustment like it's that Chaos Knights did. So they all went down to toughness. They all went up in wounds. They did get that without any additional kind of rules changes. So there might be like a little bit of delta between like rules and points, but I kind of tend to think that even if you take everything down 1 toughness, but then you drop like that thing like 70, 80 points, I actually think you just
give it more wounds.
And more wounds. I think you would just end up with a better army anyway, and I think it's fine.
Yeah. Also, more wounds. The feel no pain stuff becomes more powerful as you get. I was
going to say, yeah, a feel no pain on something that now has. So one of the big news for both Chaos and Imperial Knights too is that we got the Imperial armor updates, which is really important because the rules for those aren't actually in either codex, and obviously the Imperial Knights codex isn't out. But what it meant is the Chaos Knights codex now, when it releases this Saturday, is going to be complete. And there was this weird, stupid rumor that people were like literally screaming about that for some reason we were just losing all of the Forge World Knights from the Chaos Codex. A lot of us knew that wasn't going to happen, but like there was a bunch of people who were like very adamant this was going to happen. We now know that it's not happening. So
I don't know why not. I lost like a third of the existing Eldar units when the Eldar Codex came out. I don't know why you're so sure you weren't going to lose Forge World support.
Mostly we just got plastic kits. So that's looking for me. It's like we have a complete Chaos Knights Codex, and we have a full picture of what that looks like now. And the book comes out on Saturday, and then Imperial Knights got the adjustments they needed to be in line with the Chaos Codex. And it also, for me, there's one extra good. I was kind of hanging in this open area, like not sure what I was going to take to Tacoma. Was thinking about Green Tide, but the problem is Tacoma doesn't really enforce clocks that way. The first time I did really, really good at an open was with Imperial Knights at Tacoma. And so there's a part of me that kind of just wants to do it again. So that's where we're at.
Yeah. I love the pivot from Green Tide to Knights. Like,
yeah, I'm always wide or tall.
Yeah, like there's no in between.
We're not a medium guy. My wife says that I'm a giant who was shrunk down and put inside a human body. My feelings are entirely too big for my body. Mm-hmm. So I'm a man of extremes, right? Mm-hmm. I either like it absolutely quiet or absolutely chaotic. Mm-hmm. I like it 9 million models or 4. That's where we're at.
A whole bunch of your hobbies are dirt biking and snowboarding and all those extreme sports also.
If only you knew, Colin.
What's that?
I said if only you knew.
Oh yeah. My thoughts about Knights don't go in the good section.
I know.
So to bring everybody, I've been thinking about how to say this. What's that?
He said, "Why are we friends, Colin?"
To put this, I've decided that this is a positive morning, so I'm going to put this in the nicest way I possibly can. When Imperial Knights are broken, it ruins the game. That's how I feel. Because the way that Knights get broken is stat checking their opponent, which I think is bad for 40k. I don't think that that's a good way for 40k to be won. You know, somebody commented on Noah talking about Green Tide 2 weeks ago, that Noah basically said that one of the things he likes about Green Tide is that a bunch of his opponents can't do anything about it. And something else he likes about Green Tide is that it's harder for his opponents to not get clocked than him. One of my friends said, those are 2 shitty reasons to like a list. And I said, competitively, they're completely acceptable reasons to like a list. I've got no problem with that. The fact that those are reasons to like a list is a GW problem, not a Noah problem. And this is not me attacking Noah at all. I've taken the most BS terrible for my opponent stuff ever. Like, I've done that. The point I'm making is, when Knights are really good, they are never really good because they are a balanced and interesting army to play against. That is not what happens. And so what we've done is we've taken an army that was already winning, partially because it's stat checking people, and we've made it so that there are more Knights at lower toughness, but with higher wounds. I am very nervous about this. However, I have not played against Knights in a long time. I accept that Knights are cool, and I'm happy, I guess. I don't want to be insincere.
Yeah, and as far as like a balance,
but I do enjoy seeing them at the tournament. I just don't want to play against them, and it's not because I can't beat them. My play rate into Knights is crazy good. Like, I almost always win. It doesn't matter. I don't want to play against them. I don't think that I don't think that most of the time, I don't think that Imperial Knights are an interesting game. That being said, the last time I played Knights was at like Charity Hammer with Noah, and it was a really interesting game. So it's possible for it to be interesting. I just don't think that it often is, especially at the middle tables.
Yeah, and I don't want the game to be unbalanced either. While I do, the reason I enjoy playing Knights is not for really actually any of the competitive reasons. I do, obviously there are good things about Knights. What I like about Knights is I like things where I can play every single phase of the game with a single model. And I like big, cool stuff that I painted. They go stomping across the table doing cool shit.
Sure.
The little Noah Tonka truck Noah, like playing with like action figures, loves that part of 40k.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Point about the orcs thing. The part of Noah that likes to create difficult problems for other people and then solve problems for himself. That's why I like the make the world harder thing. There's a couple of ways to play 40k, right? One of them is play the best stats. Yeah. The other one is create the hardest game for your opponent, right? The other one is like score the most points. There's a bunch of ways to do it. And when you can put more than one of those ways on top of each other, I think it's really good.
Yeah.
Part of this game competitively is making the game harder for your opponent. I don't ever want any of my opponents to clock out. But on a competitive setting where we're playing on a clock, it is something that happens sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just a thing. That is one of the reasons I would like to play like Chaos or Imperial Knights, because it takes the clock basically entirely out of it. No one's going to clock out in that game. Right. And both of those factions have access now. When you and I used to play with Knights, they didn't have access to good Agents of the Imperium rules, like some infantry to go hold things or something, whatever. Now we do. So there's actually a more layered, meaningful game plan for Knights, not just I stat check you, which I think has to be super relevant now because they went down in toughness. So the stat check is going to be less.
I didn't think about this before, but the best Knight lists were taking sisters with them. Are any of the sisters they took the things that went down in points?
The sisters that went down in points are not the sisters that went down in points.
Oh, okay.
Because Agents of the Imperium's Battle Sister Squad and Sisters of Battle Sister Squad are 2 different data sheets.
Of course they are. Forge Fiend. Okay. So, all right. So I'm okay with all of that. I don't think things that are already winning need to be better, but okay.
Sure.
So I would like to talk about something that I think is very good, and that's the Edmonton Open.
Yes, the Edmonton Open. That's going to be one of the things we're going to talk about, right?
We're going to talk about right now.
Do we have bads and uglies? Or are we doing?
I was going to talk about it and then get to bads and uglies.
Yeah, let's do that. Cool.
Okay. So Edmonton, 250-ish person tournament in Canada. I believe it's the first GW Open in Canada, but I could be wrong about that. Someone told me that, but I didn't, like look it up. So that's neat if that's the case. We had lots of friends there, Noah and I. Like Noah and I could have gone there and just hung out and not played 40K, and we would have been great.
Been a great time.
Yeah, like many of my very favorite people were there. I was super bummed that Dukes couldn't go. When you do something in Canada and Dukes isn't there, that's really weird. Okay, in Western Canada, I guess. All right, so great event. If you had asked me to predict the top 8, I would have failed. How about you? Not people, factions. Sorry. If you told me to guess the top 8 factions, actually, there are only like 4 factions here in the top 8. How many of them would you have gotten?
I think I would, and I actually only know one of them off the top of my head.
Okay, so
I would have got that one, which is EC.
So it's the thing is that 3 of the people in the top 8 are Chaos Demons.
I would not have predicted that.
2 of them are Necrons, and then there's a Drukhari, a World Eaters, a Death Guard, and an Emperor's Children. And that's not in order because we're going to talk about it in order in a second. But
I would have got 2 of those right.
I would have said World Eaters just because it's a new thing. I think that makes perfect sense. I wouldn't have said Emperor's Children because everybody's been telling me that they don't hang anymore.
Yeah, that's not true at all.
Yeah, and I also would have said Death Guard. So
people also said that Codex was bad when it came out. They were like, "It's bad." It's not bad.
So, and I don't want to go through all of these because other people will do that in super detail. But the eighth player, Richard Anderson, hi Richard. He was playing this demonic incursion list that just has a bunch of giant demons, and so was second place Jake Chalmers. And these are the demonic incursion. That's the index, if I'm not correct, right? The index detachment.
Yeah, it's the 6. It's the only one where you can still wrap it at 6 if you have the correct things in place. That's what's important. That's one of the things that's important.
And then it's both of these lists are double unclean one. Both of these lists are like, I brought a bunch of big things that you can't deal with. I think is what's happening with these demon lists. And it's really, really interesting to me that 2 of them came out of nowhere. That's not fair. The demons are doing fine. Like demons aren't bad or anything. But I thought that this was really, really interesting.
I think it's the demons is that specific demons list is like an awesome meta pick because Chaos Knights weren't legal. The new Chaos Knights Codex wasn't legal at Edmonton, which means the meta hasn't adjusted to Chaos Knights yet. Okay. So the meta was very heavily slanted towards elite infantry, things that like killing things that are like 3 wound models with a 2 or 3 up save or whatever, right? And a bunch of defensive buffs. You know what doesn't give a crap about that is a greater unclean one with like a 4 up feel of pain.
Yeah,
does not care. And a Horde is shifted mostly out of the meta currently. So the meta is like basically MSU and like elite infantry style with a medium amount of vehicles in it, right? That's kind of how the meta was shaping up. This list comes in and says, ha ha, I hope you brought more last cannons than you brought because you didn't. And your last cannons don't do anything here. And I think that was incredibly smart of them. Now, I do think that probably maybe if Chaos Knights suddenly are actually like showing up more, I am going to see the meta adjust. And I think the technology required to deal with large things, either remove them or make them or push them out of the game, is going to go significantly higher in people's lists. Also, something that has left a lot of lists is there's a lot less of the 12-inch deep strike bubbles generally going around right now. People are indexing more on I kill you and less on some of the other kind of play elements because the what's it called, the matched play rules, right, shifted a little bit where we need less things to like go do actions and extend for an entire turnaround. Because of that, people have been like basically pulled their points in towards kill stuff because they need a little bit less to actually play the game effectively, a little less trash, which is made this vacuum, I think, for the demon codex, the demon list with the big guys to be like, haha, it's time to play.
Yeah, that all makes sense to me. I think that the no, yeah, you got it. Let's move on.
Did I take your thunders?
No, I think you were just spot on. I think you did a great job.
There's one list that we should talk about, or person that we should talk about.
No. I'm going.
Oh,
We're going through here. Necrons. So Liam Bath got. Liam Bath is a great dude, by the way. I just want to throw that out there. Liam got 5th place, I think is what it is. I've got my thing in too many windows here. 6th place. So what I wanted to point out about this is the Awakened Dynasty list that had a big Necron brick that you couldn't kill. That Chuck played at the 8-man tournament that we talked about a lot on the show. I've played a bunch against different versions of this. What I was told when Wraiths went down in points is that list was going to show up again with Wraiths instead of the Necron Warrior brick. That's what Liam has. He went 3 and then a tie to put himself, I presume, it looks like he put himself in the top bracket. That makes sense. And then he went 2 and 2 once in the top bracket. So like that's a really good pivot played by a really good player. And what I wanted to call attention to on that is but most people that I know would have told you that Awakened Dynasty detachment doesn't hang anymore, but it totally does. There you go. Really good player, pivoted away from what he was doing before, had success immediately.
The 2 people who would have told you that it's good are Liam Math and Mr. Ross, who's on our team, who both are been super hype on Awaken for quite a while. And Liam was actually like a big fan of the Wraiths for a long time. So,
okay.
But yeah, he was probably very stoked when those changes occurred.
Yeah, for sure.
I think those 2 people love Awakened, and they're obviously apparently right.
Yeah, for sure. And then John McAfee got 3rd place with Necrons. He went 3 and 1 in the top bracket, which is, no disrespect there. I would love to do that at Tacoma. And his list is Star Shatter.
Yeah, that's a
what?
We're still a fan of this too.
So weird. So I don't value that detachment, but if you're playing Necrons and you want to go ham at people, that's the one, right, Noah? Like
Richard Siegler will tell you that it is still the best attachment in Necrons, and that everyone who says that it's not is wrong. That's what Richard has literally been on the Autovore podcast that came out, I think, last week, saying those words I just said,
like over and over again.
Yeah, well, just once, just because he's talking about his different faction states, and the reason why is yes, it is a detachment that goes super ham. You know what it also does? Have reactive moves. Have defensive stratagems. Make your melee infantry better. It does weird shit that you kind of don't expect the detachment to actually do. And then it ends up playing the game way better than you think it should.
Yeah, okay. I see that.
I don't value it very highly either, though. To be fair, when I go up in Search Shatter against, I guess, anyone who's not Richard Siegler so far, I usually am like, hey, this is going to be fine. But maybe we're wrong. The Necrons that we didn't see that I wish we would have seen in the top 8 is there's an obeisance phalanx list going around that runs that stupid Necron fortification and some other stuff. And it won a couple events. It's played by one of the best players in Canada, but that list did not show up in the top 8 here, which is a little sad.
Okay. Stu rocked 7th place with Death Guard. We talked about Death Guard a lot last week, so fine. Great. Good job, Stu. Great dude. Did well. The 5th place is World Eaters. He did the Zerker Rush. What's really interesting about Fraser Perry's list is that he went pretty heavy into 8-bound and Exalted 8-bound. The specific thing that I don't value because I think they're too expensive. I might just be wrong. I'm wrong all the time about stuff. Yeah, just ask my children. So he went 7 and 1 top bracket, only 1 loss.
Frazier is an exceptional player. He's an Eldar player. Like that's his main is Eldar. He's an exceptional player, and he's a kind of a melee, aggressive, but still with brains. A player. He was at that event where I went 3-2 recently. Him and Cass, who took. He was the very top person in the second bracket down, which means he went 7-1. He lost his second or third game and then won 5 consecutive games of 40K.
Nice.
He's playing Death Guard, and those two are play partners. And probably there was probably a lot of engineering going into making sure that the world leaders list could eat Death Guard is probably what that is. That's probably part of it, right? Is making sure that the world leaders list can eat the Death Guard list.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Yeah. And by the way, the top of his army list says, I have literally 0 reps with this army, so you're probably fine.
That's a very, from what I met of Fraser, that's a very, he's a young, very confident dude. And from what I've seen of Fraser, that sounds incredibly on brand.
Yeah. All right. So then we have to talk about Skari.
Yeah.
So I've talked for years about the different ways to be good at 40K. There is the Nick Nanavati, I'm going to play whatever John Lennon. Let's do John Lennon. John Lennon, I'm going to play the best thing I possibly can that fits my play style. It doesn't matter what faction it's from. It doesn't matter what army it's from. I'll paint the things that need painting. I'm just going to play that. The other side of that is Alex McDougall and Skari are great examples of this, who play literally one faction, right? That's what they play. Now, McDougall plays Tyranids and Gene Stealer Cult. I'm calling that one faction for the purposes of this conversation because for a long time it was close to that.
Yep.
So I think it's really interesting that is also a completely viable way to be really good, because you play that army so much in so many different ways and so many different matchups that when you go into a game, you simply know more about what's happening than your opponent does. And if you're an incredibly intellectual player, like Skari is, like Alex McDougall is, then you can use that to just beat your opponent, right? Alex overperforms where people think Tyranids and Gene Stealer Cult are all the time. And it's simply because he's played it more. And he understands it better than you do at the table. And I love that.
Me too.
Right?
I
think that's a wonderful way to be good at 40K.
Same.
I would get so bored. Like, that's my brain. I would get so bored. And I would get to a point where I arbitrarily decided that the faction I wanted to play was bad, which is a story we're about to talk about. And then I wouldn't play the thing I love, and then I get frustrated. It like wouldn't work for my brain at all, but it works perfectly for Skari, and it works perfectly for Alex McDougall, and I just think that's fantastic. So Skari's list is Reaper's Wager, something I'm going to talk about later in the show. Reaper's Wager is really cool, and they made it so that you always have the reroll ones to hit, even when you're winning the wager, whatever. What's interesting about Skari's list is he has exactly one Harlequin model. Like, he is all in on what if you just gave Drukhari reroll once to hit. And then he's got one Death Jester who probably every once in a while is like, hey, I see a guy that's alive. One guy left in a unit. Oh, I killed him. I'm winning the wager for right now. Which I think is a really, really neat way to play Reaper's Wager, to have like one sniper lone op character that's just like, got that guy.
That's really smart, actually. It lets him, like, it basically lets you go kill something with Drukhari, become a thing, and then immediately turn around and kill something else with the Jester, put it back on your Drukhari, and then go kill something else with the Drukhari. Then go melee that, kill something with the Drukhari.
Yeah, it's really neat. It's not something that I'd thought of, so, I wouldn't think of anything Drukhari-wise that Skari hadn't thought of already. So that's that, and then
an
original first Charity Hammer OG met Nick Nanavati for the first time in the SeaTac airport, coming to the first ever Charity Hammer. My friend for a very long time, I used to call him the Boy King himself. I don't really call him that anymore. John Lennon heads to Edmonton and says, calm down, Canadians and Americans here. and he says, everyone's saying that coterie is bad now, so I'm just going to bring it. So he brings coterie, Emperor's Children, coterie, and then goes 8-0. The only game I've heard about is him beating Stu's Death Guard, but that's awesome. So talk about Emperor's Children and John Lennon and stuff.
Yes. So one of the really cool things about John Lennon in general, I think, is that John has I think the term is strong opinion, or strong convictions loosely held. So he believes wholeheartedly that things are correct, and like he says, hey, this is the right way. He is willing to see the reason why they are not. He's also willing to play things that he thinks are bad in his testing games to identify if he is wrong or not, or at least for him. And you can tell this because his list includes Mahler fiends, because people were like, hey, Mahler fiends are not that great. And then there was points adjustments. He's like, you know what? Mahler fiend, the demon princes have gone up. We've lost some points. Let's make up for that points and solve one of our problems, which is dealing with hard targets. So include these freaking gorillas running on their hands. And let's
punch people with las cannons.
Yeah, they punch people with las cannons. And I watched 3 of his games over the weekend, and parts of them or whatever. And they were almost always on the table. So first off is like every time I saw a shot on YouTube, there was a Mahler fiend on the table. I don't know if that's accurate. I don't know if they actually just didn't die all weekend, but I never saw them die. And the second thing is
which is weird, because my experience running Mahler fiends over the last few weeks is that they're very excited about dying.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably true. I probably just, something about it. They seem to always present. And the other thing is they seem to always be killing something on an objective. They seem to always be like, I'm on an objective and I'm punching you in the face.
Mm-hmm.
Mahler fiends are great because the advance and charge on something that is just so brutal in melee, especially going into like rhinos and stuff, is wild. And it's a trade piece you're okay with losing. It's like 130 points. Like trading 130 points to turn on all your army buffs on turn 1 and potentially kill 1 or 2 targets is absolutely fantastic.
Are they cheaper than they are for World Eaters?
I think they're probably around the same price.
I thought World Eaters were 150, same as the Forge Fiend, but maybe they're 140.
I might be wrong on the price.
That's right. We don't need to look it up. It's fine.
They're somewhere between 130 and 150, and what that means is they are cheap.
Yeah.
And they're cheap enough to go punch something in the face and die. Like also with their like melted cutters, like if they got super lucky, they could run up, kill a rhino, charge what came out of the rhino, and potentially kill what came out of the rhino. That's right. 2 kills, which is great.
Yeah.
I think just in general, something to remember about Coterie, even if with points changes, whatever, Coterie has amazing stratagems. And because we are currently, I don't know if we're going to stay in it, currently in kind of an elite infantry melee meta, right? Death Guard, whatever. There's a strat that's really important inside Coterie. It's you can only punch the thing I tell you to punch. That strat is in Coterie, and that strat has an incredible impact on the Death Guard, the World Eaters, and a lot of the other melee matches. Like an incredible impact. So that strat probably isn't to be underestimated.
So is it like you charge them and then you charge them with a rhino and you tell them you have to fight the rhino?
Yeah. Or they charge you with something really big to kill your big thing that's most important. And then you heroic them with like a 5-man squad of battle line. And you say, you have to punch my battle line. And then their fucking 350 point Terminator unit kills 5 battle line models. And then a Lord Exultant goes, hold my beer, and then cuts like 6 people in half and everyone starts screaming. That's kind of what happens.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, he's a lord. Why not?
He is quite exultant.
Yes, it's true. Okay, so congrats to John Lennon. Fantastic. Love to see him doing well. So that's the Edmonton Open. I think that
Runes Rhetoric. I've been trying to push the once and future king.
Yeah, we can't call him the Boy King anymore. He's like a grown up and he's getting married. And like at some point, there's probably going to be tiny John Lennon's. Like we can't just call him the Boy King forever.
When I can't wait for the day a John Lennon child wins a GT and we call them the heir to the throne. That's what I want.
Yeah, the multiple generations of Lennons. So fantastic. Okay, so that's the good for 40K this week. The bad is Knights, which we already talked about. It's good and it's bad. Actually, no, it's not bad. It's ugly, which is not the same thing.
There is a bad that I think is potentially happening right now. Which is I'm worried that we're about to see a destabilization in the meta, and for a while we're going to have some imbalance.
We already have it.
I think we're going to have more. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better, folks. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I played another game against T-Suns over the weekend, this time against someone playing their first game with that style of T-Suns list. So we were really talking it through rather than just getting wrecked by David in the previous few days before. We played it and really talked about it, and I worked really, really hard with Eldar, the army I know the best, and I still lost pretty soundly. I think that I am concerned that Death Guard, Emperor's Chosen children. Who are the Emperor's Chosen? They're loyalists? Who are
Those
the Emperor's?
The
Emperor's Chosen? Okay. Emperor's children. I'm worried that these Chaos Codexes, including the Chaos Knights Codex, are going to be so wildly, violently over the top that no one gets to play anything else. Yeah. And that's what it looks like so far to me, because like T-Suns and Death Guard, they're both crazy. And I haven't played against Emperor's Children yet, but John Lennon just won Edmonton with it. So like these things are good, and Chaos Knights are supposed to be really good. And where does that leave the rest of the game? That's what I'm worried about.
What I think you're right. What it's going to be, I think, and maybe I'm wrong, is that we're going to have these, 4 incredibly good power armor-esque codexes. We're going to have this one Chaos Knights codex. We're going to have a couple other codexes that are good. But because the most of the things that are really, really good are essentially wearing power armor or don't really care about AP that much, we're going to see an index on lists that can beat you in melee and are good at killing power. And those lists are going to be the meta breaker lists that win despite the other lists. And the other lists are going to, and the most of the winning lists will be these power armor-esque chaos lists and chaos lights.
Noah just foreshadowed my conversation about my GT really hard.
There is a really interesting thing that happens because of this, which I love, actually.
Yeah.
I call it the diggy hole effect.
Okay, which is what?
Which is, I'm pretty sure Votann are about to be one of the best armies in the game, meta-wise, for a very small period of time.
Okay, why?
Votann are incredibly freaking good at killing you if you're in power armor or you're a knight. Okay. If you're a vehicle or you're in power armor, they are incredibly good at murdering you all day long. They're relatively harder to kill because of the naturally high toughness and defensive buffs. And they are currently conservatively costed, which is great. They're right costed, but very few people have a lot of experience against playing Votann. So a lot of people don't understand how to play against them very well. And then they also have a lot of mission control just by playing the things that also kill your list. Right. Like bikes are good at playing the mission and also just murder you. So I think we're about to see just a couple of Votann players who are really good just go absolutely ham into a meta that is just like, come here, little dwarves, come here.
That could be. Yeah, and Ian has a great point. He says the game is so big, there's something that can beat something else. Just people get tunnel vision towards the meta. Completely agree. 100%. And I know that the top players in the game in particular will find stuff that counters these growth things. And it's bad. And the reason that this particular situation is bad is that I'm worried that the answers to the books that are wildly not okay are going to be in the books that are wildly not okay. That's what I don't want. I want the answers to be in the other factions so that everybody can be balanced and not just, and also I don't want it to be rock, paper, scissors. I'm unreasonable. I understand this. But
I'm unreasonable.
I am. I'm unreasonable, but that's what I would like.
Fair.
Okay. I think that's the good and the bad and the ugly for this week.
I think you're probably right. What do you want to talk on?
What?
I think you're probably right. What do you want to talk about?
So, 2 weeks ago, I think, was when the data sheet was. Mm-hmm. 2 weeks before that, I had said on the podcast, I am done with Ynnari. Here's why. I think that it has auto wins and auto losses is a core part of its game mechanic. It either beats you because you have literally no answers, or you lose because you have literally no answers. And that if it gets nerfed, it's going to be really miserable. And that and this is what I said, I don't value the other detachments as much in the Eldar Codex. Okay. Noah says, play World Eaters. Great. So I play World Eaters. So much fun. I play all 3 detachments. I play the Khorne Demonkin. That's the one I like the best. I play it a bunch of times. I've played it at least 8 times. I think it's what I've played the most of over the last few weeks. And this is the list with the triple forge fiend that shoot you like crazy, the bloodletters that come in like weird and do stupid things, and the blood crushers come smashing into your army, and that's basically the army. I really like it a lot. It has 2 significant problems. The first problem is we have 5 or 6 weeks between now and Tacoma, and if I had to bet, now first of all, I don't gamble, but if I had to with my no money while I'm unemployed, I would bet that that stratagem, that bloodletter stratagem, is addressed between now and Tacoma. If that's the case, I will have prepped and prepared an army that falls apart.
Can we make a bet on this? Because I actually don't think it's going to. So can we bet wear a silly hat on the show right before Tacoma?
Sure.
Okay, because the Wednesday before Tacoma is like too short to get a rules change. So whoever is wrong will wear a silly hat on stream on Tacoma on the weekend.
And honestly, if the Demonkin don't win anything, they might just get completely missed. Sure. And so here's the other reason that I don't like them. Well, I do like them a lot. Here's the other concern I have about that army. When I started playing it, my first mini matchups, I got all the blood tithe points and killed characters and monsters and cashed it all in and made my demons amazing. Turns out, when that doesn't happen, the army falls apart, which people told me on Reddit and gave me a lot of sass about. This is not actually a good detachment. It's being held together by a broken strat that feels bad for the game. The fact that your army only gets half of the rules at any one time isn't good. Like this was the feedback I received, and I think that army is very strong. I think that detachment is very strong. Mm-hmm. I think that I could 5-0 a local GT with it for sure. Mm-hmm. Could I 6-0 or 8-0 or 9-0? No. I'm going to run into something where either I don't have the answers or my army just doesn't perform. I played against Necrons, not even a good Necron list, a silly Necron list a couple days ago with Demonkin, and I just got diced on the first turn, which is fine. That's 40k. But because I got diced, I didn't get any blood tithe points. And because I got diced early, I got pushed back, and I wasn't able to get the momentum I need, and my demons never got buffed, and and it fell apart. So I'm not super excited about that as a tournament prep. Then I looked at Drukhari. I have a friend who plays Drukhari. I have liked Reaper's Wager for a long time. I have all the models. I spent a bunch of time doing lists for Reaper's Wager. And what I determined while preparing Reaper's Wager is the core problem with playing Drukhari is that every one of your data sheets is just worse than the Craft Rolled Eldar data sheets. I feel so bad for that. Like, yes, they buffed Reaper's Wager, and Reaper's Wager is a cool detachment that's filled with models with units that are just not as good.
Sure.
So I also recorded the first episode of our game show, which I haven't had time to edit, partially because my laptop died.
Oh no!
But the first episode of the game show, someone says to me, "Hey, you're wrong about Eldar. Just go back and look at Warhost again." Then I get lots of comments on the Reddit. You're ignoring Seer Council. Seer Council's really strong. So I say, okay, I'm being silly, evidently. There's 2 options for Eldar. And by the way, when the Eldar Codex first came out, the first things I played were Warhost. I didn't value Ynnari because I was dumb and wrong. And I didn't value Aspect Host because Aspect Host stratagems are boring and wrong. So I played Warhost, which is the one with the extra battle focus token and the extra battle focus movements and some of the silliest stratagems in the game. I didn't think that it would get the job done, and I moved off of it, moved to Ynnari. So I came back. So I look at Eldar. I look at the Seer Council list. Really cool. So Seer Council is an attachment with 6 wildly good stratagems. Let's see if I can do it. There's a command phase. My Varseer can see you and is 18 inches away. I'm going to make you take a battle shock test at -1. That's an amazing stratagem. I've flipped so many objectives with that. There is a you moved within 9 inches of my psyker. Take a psychic grenade to your face on 3s instead of 4s. There's my unit in melee gets -1 to hit and -1 to wound. There's teleportation, like the jump, where you can just pick up an infantry unit and put it down 9 inches away. It can pull out of combat. There is lone op on your unit, and then something else. So, all right, the shooting one, or a shooting unit gets sustained and ignore cover. Not sustained, sorry. Extra AP on crit wounds and ignore cover. That's really neat. Sorry, my allergy is going crazy. The detachment rule is that you roll 6 dice at the beginning of the game, and you basically get free uses of those stratagems. Between that and the double autarch I play with in Eldar, it was a hilarious experience where I'd have like 6 CP on the second turn. Not really that much, but like it felt like the CP was just like cascading onto me, and I couldn't spend it fast enough. That army's super cool. I played with Guardian bricks. Because a Guardian brick, I know people play with Storm Guardians. I get why, but the Guardian brick has free battle shock or battle focus move, which means that when it comes up and it comes down 9 inches away from you, and the 4 warlocks flame you like you've never been flamed before, and the Bright Lance shoots you, and the Farseer shoots you, and everybody else shoots you, that you really need to get them in one shot going back at them, because they are going to move D6+1, and they're going to get out of your charge. They're going to get out of line of sight. They're going to lose some Guardians. They're going to pull out a line of sight that way. And I found that to be very effective. It also, I played with the Magic Bright Lance, and I'm going to talk about the Magic Bright Lance on the show here, because I don't think it is legal, but I cannot find where it tells me it's not. So, the Farseer can change a hit, wound, or damage roll to a 6. That's what he does. By the way, it's by phase, which is wild. So if he was good at close combat, or could ever in a million years be in a unit that was good at close combat, wouldn't that be neat? But it is neat because he gets to hit people with his strength 6 AP 03 strength 3 AP 03 damage weapon in combat, so he gets to wound people. But nonetheless, so that's a great ability, and it says on it that it does not work on support weapon platforms. Okay. A support weapon platform is the D cannon, the vibro cannon, the Shadow Weaver. It's the bigger ones that used to be in units of 3 and now get attached. Okay. I want to use it on the Bright Lance. And I think that's legally fine because the little turret that follows the Guardians around doesn't have keywords. It's not even a model. It doesn't have wounds. So I think this is fine. Here's why I don't think it should be fine. First of all, it's an auto-hitting Bright Lance in Overwatch. Let's be clear about that. Second of all, it is a magic Bright Lance. Here's why I say that. The Farseer makes that unit hit on 2s if you're close enough to the 18 inches of the target you're shooting at. So that Bright Lance can shoot on 2s. It's strength 12, so it's probably going to wound well. You have command point rerolls. That's all fine. If you manage to get through without using your reroll, the Bright Lance just does 8 damage because you have the 6 left. And so... Yep. That happens a lot because it's a Bright Lance, and you don't need a lot of reliability on a strength 12 gun that can hit on 2s. So I had a lot of experiences where I would shoot something, they'd fail the save, and I'd immediately go, fine, take 8. So I think that's a magic Bright Lance. It's very likely to hit. It's very likely to wound. And if it does hit and wound you, you just take 8 damage. The Storm Guardians don't get that. They can do it with their Melt-A-Gun. I don't think that's nearly as good. The Guardian units do it from across the table. So that's what I was about. I did really well with the Seer Council list until I didn't. And so here's what I realized about Seer Council. First of all, every single strat I named that's amazing has to be within 9 inches of a Psyker. Not a Psyker unit, a Psyker model. I thought it was a Psyker unit, which would make the Guardian units incredibly strong. It is not. You have to be within 9 inches of a dude. That kind of aura management with fragile things that just die is not what I'm good at. It just never has been, never will be. I'm just not good at that kind of aura management. So not for me. I think it's very good. So I said, well, crap, fine. I played all these games of Seer Council, and I thought it was so fun. The teleporting in particular. But it just wasn't there. It just wasn't there for me. The psychers weren't close enough. I wasn't getting to use my strats. I was never getting to use my psycher blow you up when you get move within 9 of me, because no one was moving within 9 of my psychers. It was very frustrating. Or they were moving within 9 of me at the beginning of the shooting phase because it's T-Suns. So I also lost several times to the new Tyranid detachment played by Alex McDougall, which is wildly gross to play against and is way better than people think it is. So I said, one of the best players I know told me to play Warhost. Let's go look at Warhost again. It's been since the Codex came out. If you take the stratagems from Warhost and you put them next to the stratagems from Seer Council, like 4 of them are better and 2 of them are similar, but not quite as good. Like the stratagems in Warhost are also amazing, and you get all that battle focus stuff. And so the only benefit you're getting from Seer Council is the CP, which if you're good at spending CP and you have autarchs, I don't think you need.
Okay.
So what I'm determined is the benefit Seer Council is giving you isn't enough to keep you off Warhost. Because Warhost has Fire and Fade, which is I shot you, it's the end of the shooting phase, I'm going to move D6 +1. I haven't played Warhost yet, and I haven't read the errata, so maybe this got fixed, but at least when the book came out, you could get in a Wave Serpent with that. That's interesting, because Warhost also just has a stratagem at the end of the fight phase to get back in your Wave Serpent. So that's 2 different units that can get in and out of a Wave Serpent in a meta where people are incredibly close combat heavy. Incredibly heavy close combat armies hate things in trucks.
True.
Because they can't open them. These are Wave Serpents that are relatively durable, can move after the first one is shot, and can stand behind a wall, offload its people, and then get back into it. Mm-hmm. I believe that is extremely strong in the meta right now. The thing that I enjoy the most about Seer Council is up and downy on the shooty Guardian units with Farseers and Warlocks. Warhost has a uppy downy strat. So it'd have to happen at the end of my opponent's turn rather than during my movement phase. Obviously not as good. And it requires me to be within 9 inches of the table edge. Obviously not as good. That said, if I have a Guardian brick sitting in my deployment zone screening within 9 inches of the table edge, that's a thing you have to prepare for every turn. Because if that lands 9 inches from you, especially behind your army, it is going to wreck anything that's not a hard target. The Flamers alone in that unit are 46 +8 strength 7 AP 1/1 damages. They don't ignore cover. In Seer Council they do, which is really neat. And then you have all the Shuriken, which does matter. You've got the Smite, which matters. You've got 5 people throwing strength 9 3 damage spears at you. Like, it's just a lot. There's a lot going on. So that being able to uppy downy is really cool. Warhost also has the lightning fast reflexes stratagem, which is my favorite. Like, I have used more CP on lightning fast reflexes in my 40k career than the command point reroll. Like, I have LFR'd so many times for so many Elder armies. That just feels right. So I think that the way that list functions is that it actually uppy downies and uses transports to cheat with Dark Reapers. Now, without rerolls, Dark Reapers feel really bad. I've had this experience, but if they're shooting every turn and not dying, then I think that might have merit. So you've got Dark Reapers shooting you at 48 inches, then they uppy downy and now they're at a different angle. That's fun. Fire dragons that get out of a Wave Serpent, blow up all your stuff and get back in is really fun. All of that's really good right now. And then I looked at the meta and I said, actually, let's do one more thing. And I took out some of the stuff I normally take and I put in a lot of close combat. So I'm at 20 Banshees. I think 25 is probably right. Banshees are so good right now. They can get to T-Suns before the T-Suns get to them in situations, especially out of a Wave Serpent. They actually kill T-Suns in combat because they're 2 damage anti-infantry to AP2. People undervalue the aspect token on the strength 6 lady, where she can just be like, well, I wounded once, and here's a 6, so now you've got 2 AP3 3 damages on you. Those units, even of the 5, are really strong. You put an Autarch with them, they're even stronger. They can, they can fire Dragon Gun after their assault and then go in. There's a lot. Banshees have been my favorite data sheet in the army for a long time. So I'm talking 3 units of Banshees, 3 units of Warp Spiders, and then a bunch of people and Wave Serpents. I think it's really great. I think it's going to be super fun. I haven't gotten to play it yet, which is kind of funny. But there's a lot going on, and my wife took a mental health weekend last weekend, which was great for her. She went away and didn't come back. She's back now. She has offered me the same thing for next weekend, and there is a local GT that's about an hour and 15 from my house, which is within my sleep in my own bed tournament range. So I think that I'm going to go to that. I signed up for it. Pretty sure I'm going to go to it, and I'm going to take Eldar Warhost, and it's going to be really neat, and I'm going to have a lot of cool things to talk about because it's an army I haven't played. It's got Warhost has so much jank and still has the problem Eldar have, where you might just not do anything because there's not enough reliability in the number of dice you're rolling is very low, and lots of things don't have rerolls. That's Eldar. And so sometimes it just doesn't work. And that's my least favorite thing about it. But I'm hoping that I can use jank to how would you say this, Noah? Overcome the situations where it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. I think I'd say it like that.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. All right, so that's been my journey. And so here's what I would like to say to those of you on the internet who told me I was wrong. Correct. I was wrong. Seer Council is very good. It's very, very good. It's super fun to play. I bet other people will be amazing at it. Those people that were good at Tau, that are good at like Tau aura management, might be really good at it. I got to keep these fragile people alive. It's really hard for me. I'd rather just let them die because they're fragile and I don't care about them. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm going to play Warhost. Yeah.
I have a question.
There's a chance I don't like Warhost and I YOLO to Demonkin for the weekend just because it's so fun. But probably I'll play Eldar, and because I'm likely going to play Eldar at Tacoma. And
Noah we have a question. Says thoughts on Windtaker,
Windrider Host.
Windrider Host in new meta.
For those that don't know, Windrider Host is the detachment that changes your Windriders into battle line and gives them incredibly good strats like advance and shoot, up and down, and also reroll everything within. It does a lot. +1 to wound, I think, when they come in from deep strike. Fall back and shoot. It's a very good detachment. Windriders are one of the best data sheets in the. I need to slow down how fast I'm trying to talk. Windriders are one of the best detachments in the book. They are 160 points for 6 dudes. It's great value. The fact that they reroll all hits on closest visible is very easy to plan your turnaround. You can Rhino Snipe with them, which means that you can use things to get in the way, like walls and stuff, so I can't quite see that unit, so I can shoot this other unit with full rerolls. They get their full rerolls in Overwatch. They give their full rerolls to the Warlocks and the Farseer that are with them. Like, they're just good. I love them. I played double Windrider in my Ynnari list, which is not at all wrong, and I love them. I'm not going to play them in Windrider, in Warhost, and Seer Council because all the strats are infantry only. But I totally play them in Ynnari. So Windrider Host. Very, very strong most of the time. Up and down, fast, angles, shoot people off the table. You're not playing the mission. You're just not playing the mission. That's not what's up. Here's the problem. You only have one fall back and shoot strat.
Oh no.
So all someone has to do is be fast and touch your Windriders that we're trying to shoot at 24 inches from people. Or 18 inches if you want more of the guns to hit. Or 12 inches if you want more of the guns to hit. So what happens is, really adept close combat armies touch all your things and you lose the game. Because you can't do anything. You can't kill them in close combat. And if you take enough close combat to stop that threat, then you don't have enough Windriders to play the jank anymore. Beginner dude, I want to be clear. I only have 3 games with this army since the book came out. I haven't played it post points changes, which I don't think helps the army at all. So in the meta, it's going to be good against some things, but I think infantry running through walls and touching your whole army is real. T-Sons is really fast. Eldar is really fast. I think it's hard.
Noah has a question for you. Your GT this weekend, did it or does it have a rules cutoff?
Probably.
Because that is going to be relevant to your interests.
because I might just get more Eldar.
Yeah, I mean, which rule set you're playing with is probably important.
I'm relatively sure that everything's current because it's a local tournament. It's only 28 people. Like it's probably fine. This is the tournament I went to while everybody else was at LVO and messed up. I messed up around just the short version of the story is I was flustered and messed up some rules in my round 5 top table game on stream. I apologized. I gave back I happily accepted the loss. Like it was not a drama. It was not a thing that needed to be drama. But this is the sort that happened at. So I do feel some anxiety about going back. Now I know that most of the people in the store don't know that anything happened and don't care. Lots of other people in the store know that something happened and that I was a stand-up dude about it and it was fine. And there's probably some people in the store that just think I'm a cheater because I cheated. So I feel some anxiety about that, but I also know that the 40K community is awesome. And the people that do have issue with me will not have the guts to tell me to my face. So I will not have to deal with it. So all joking aside, I'm not going to let myself having made a mistake somewhere stop me from going there again. That's the summary of that.
Noah has one more question.
Yeah, we got time.
So with the change in the meta of currently being around elite melee armies, whatever, something I have found playing it a little bit was that the Wraith detachment seemed to wreck power armor melee armies that wanted to come touch me.
Okay.
Especially ones that had important units that I could YOLO a Psyker into, they could kill, and then my whole army is +1 to wound against it, and then I pick it up in like 1 or 2 activations of shooting.
It's like a Farseer Skyrunner driving at full speed into a unit.
Yeah, and so that army for me was like 25 to 30 Wraith models, right? A Wave Serpent, 3 of the Warlocks on foot, or 3 of the Warlocks on bike, 2 or 3 of the Warlocks on foot, some Psyker characters, Eldrad for the extra CP, and 3 Wraith Lords. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that list felt really good and consistent and could score a lot because I had these little fast pieces that ran around that you didn't really care about. And then you had a bunch of stuff that just randomly did a lot of damage. And then you could just overwatch someone with 5d6, strength 7, AP3 flamers and just watch them die. And so you got basically, I meant melee armies, especially power armor melee armies, would arrive in combat with about a third less models than they wanted to. Even Terminators would arrive with fewer models than expected. Have you considered or thought about it? Because it is probably pretty well placed in the meta. It also has a reduced damage by 1 strat that is, I believe, not 2 CP.
What?
Which is wild. And it works in melee and shooting on 3 wound models.
Yeah.
It has some other good strats. And
yeah, I think it's neat.
I think in the current meta, it might be better than it I think it is okay and it is good. I think in terms of competitive rankings, it's like a high C, low B ish.
Okay.
Right? But I think in the meta that we're seeing, where let's say the 4 scariest things are chaos, power armor, units that are 1 and 2 damage stuff in melee, and then it's running at you with power armor models, I think it might be very, very good.
Okay. Here's the thing.
Uh-huh.
I did not mention this.
Okay.
The army that I am taking this weekend must have as close to 0 hobby as possible.
Well,
because I don't know where my shit is.
Probably for Tacoma is what more. But if you're
let me finish my joke.
Yeah.
For those that have had to stage your house to be sold before, it has to look like no one lives there.
Okay.
And so all of my things are packed away. And I mentioned to Stephanie that not only are my things packed away, but I don't know where my airbrush is. Mildly problematic because I don't have Guardians that are painted.
Interesting.
And I know the Storm Guardians that are painted, and I'd like to take one of them. No. So I'm going to play a Warhost list that is literally what is available for Colin to take.
Interesting.
So that's what I'm going to do. I will play the Wraith host list on TTS so that I can report back, or I'll play it in person because I have all the models. They're just not hobbied. And also, I don't want to take a bunch of I don't want to take a bunch of Wraith blades to a tournament and say they have axes. That feels really bad to me. So, and I don't have the axe ones. I wish I did. They look cooler than the blade ones, I think.
Yeah, I really like the Wraith, the dudes with the evil flamers that murder your face. I really like.
Yeah, I only own like 5 of those.
I own like 25 of those.
Yeah. Well, you made a Wraith army. I understand. And then people are like, well, just borrow from Noah. No, we don't borrow Eldar. That's not what's up. If I needed one unit, like if I needed to go and it was important to me to have a Guardian unit, borrowing a Guardian unit is, whatever, fine. But I'm not going to borrow someone else's Eldar army. I would feel like such a poser. The amount of painted Eldar I have is intense. It's just that my hobby is not Noah's hobby. My hobby is I have this deadline that these things have to be done by so I can take them to the tournament. If something has never gone to tournament, it is not painted.
Fair.
For me.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah. So, okay. So I've got some things to figure out for Tacoma. Let me just say to everyone who is listening, taking all Wraiths to Tacoma would be amazing.
I'll be honest. I'll be entirely honest. If I could get the reps in and I turn out I actually like it, that there is a non-zero chance in my life that I take the Wraith army that me and my daughter painted together, that she mostly painted, it looks really cool, and I just go fucking flame people with something that literally no one has experience against in the entire meta. No one knows what it does. No one has played against it, and no one is prepared for it.
So you take the Flamer Wraith Guard instead of the big hitting Wraith Guard?
So I take 1 unit of the guys who shoot you with the big guns, the D6 guys.
Yeah.
And then I take 3
the
units.
D-cannon, not the D-scythe. Yeah.
Yeah. Then 3 units of D-scythe and 1 unit of Wraith blades.
Oh, 3 units of D-scythe.
Oh, 3 units of D-scythe. Yes.
Oh, well, see, now you've got my attention.
Because 3 units of D-scythe is 15 D6, strength 7, AP3, damage 1 attacks. And then when you can get +1 to wound with your whole army against targets, it's very funny when you're wounding on 2s in Overwatch. And then there's also ways to like give them there's ways to make their critical wounds precision, which is really, really funny when they have characters that are important. It's very funny.
That makes me very happy.
That's an enhancement that you put on a dude.
Oh, that guy.
He doesn't give it to his unit. He picks a unit. That unit gets it. So he just like picks one of the Wraith units, and then you have another one that makes OC get higher, and then you have another guy who gets a reactive move for himself. And so with these dudes floating around, you have like 3 of the big Wraith Lord, walking around going, "Hi, I hit really well," because you can pick their preferred enemy at the beginning of the turn.
Right, and they're near psychers because that's how the army is built, and now you're hitting on 3s ruling ones.
But the coolest thing about this entire detachment is that while the dudes are within 12 of psychers, they get all the battle focus rules, which means you can reactive move your Wraith Guard with D-scythes and put them in exactly the position that is required to overwatch a combat. Right? You can put them. You can also just make your Wraith Lords go that much faster. And then also you have a Wave Serpent floating around that is the only thing benefiting from Star Engines, which is also very, very good. You have ways to get, because correct me if I'm wrong, can the reactive move get in a Wave Serpent?
Yep.
So you can do that with your Wraith Blades. You can get out, kill something. If they shoot you, you can jump back in your Wave Serpent.
Yep, they shoot you, and maybe they hurt one model, and you're like, "Aha!"
Right now, there are some of the ones I can't remember which ones that are locked to not Titanic or not Wraith Construct. I have to look at what those actually are. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But generally, the detachment is super cool. Hits pretty freaking hard, and I think and all the strats are like fine. Like there's a sticky strat, right? So there's there's a sticky strat. There's reduced damage by 1. There's also the fact that you get to regen models into their units with the dudes is really, really good. And then Eldrad makes the whole thing work because he adds UCP.
And you desperately need the CP?
I think you just want to always -1 damage and then do something else.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you can't use Autark. So the way I use that's part of why I value Autarks in our Eldar army. But Noah's got a different situation because the strats he wants to spend aren't on units that Autarks are in.
So I don't know. I think the detachment is cool. I've played it into a bunch of power armor, and all of the power armor games. The only game that was like a little hard was like the old World Eaters match. That was like an Angron issue, not like the rest of the army issue. But because like 3 wound infantry that offset damage by 1 means that flat 3 flat 3 damage doesn't just instantly kill you, and then a damage 2 goes to damage 1 and it suddenly takes 3 to kill you rather than 2 is just amazing. It's really good. I was talking about how good it is when you have
I'm here. I was here. Okay. But all that means is that I went off camera.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Because I needed to do a thing that no one wanted to watch.
I just think generally that the detachment is good. I think the really heavy, infantry that are hard for the current profiles that are going to be good in the meta to deal with are really exceptional, and having a tough creature that has a good defensive profile that also can just like nuke you in shooting is wonderful. The melee isn't non-existent because like Wraith Lords, when they get into combat, will chop you in half. There's a lot of shooting in the list, so like it can just like randomly shoot you with bright lances from across the table and kill and break up your stuff anyway. And when you get too close to it, it just flames you with I don't know what a D is as far as like what it's doing, but I assume it's like
dimensional. Okay, I'm pretty sure it's dimensional.
So it's just cutting the dimension in half. We're just like
I think so, but I'm not a lore expert.
We're like dimension shredding, like from the Deadpool movie.
Well, the warp spiders, I don't know if they have it anymore, but it used to be that they were just shooting stuff that was so tiny that it cut through you.
Oh yeah, monofilaments.
Yeah. So, anywho, I think that your points are really valid. And you know what was interesting was when I took Eldar, I took Seer Council and played against Alex McDougall, and we were playing this incredibly high intellect, super janky game. And he's looking to fall back from the Banshees. And he's saying, now you can reactive when I do this, right? And I said, yes. And he said, okay. And he sat there and he looked at it for a long time. And he said, any direction you reactive hurts me here.
Oh, no.
And I said, yeah. And I had forgotten that even without Ynnari, Eldar is still a jerk. Like, the Ynnari jerkishness was so like top of my brain that I had forgotten that there's so much other cheating than Eldar too. So I really was happy. I was pleased with the fact that the Seer Council list was as intellectual as it was, because that made me love my codex again, which I think is one of the best codexes in the game. So I'm saying it is powerful. Forget that. I'm saying that the Eldar Codex is one of the best written codexes in the game.
I agree.
The units are super interesting. Ynnari was over the top, but the army is not the most broken thing. I think it's a real problem for some factions that haven't had love. That's just always going to be 40k. But Eldar is still the thinking man's army. I really believe that. I think that if you try to Unga Bunga an Eldar army at a tournament, you're going to have a bad experience. I think that Eldar is going to be, we're only going to see Eldar perform by people that are extremely practiced and educated at 40k. Do you agree?
I agree. And I also double checked those, the combat focus, and none of them are locked away from Wraiths. There's 2 locked away from Titanic, which there are none of those in the list.
Yeah. Triple Wraith Knight. Triple Wraith Knight. Here goes Noah.
I did play like a fun version of it with one Wraith Knight, and the Wraith Knight with Blade, because it does actually just have battle focus on the sheet, is pretty funny because it just like ignores walls and shit. It just like goes around. pretty hilarious.
When the Wraith Lord was super broken at the beginning of 10th, we had a Tacoma Open, and Eldar was, so dumb. And I took a Wraith. It was my first time ever taking a knight with me of any kind to a tournament. And I took the Wraith Knight because I thought it's so silly broken. It's not going to be broken much longer. I should enjoy it. And the friend that we did Hammer Out Cancer 4 years ago, Chuck's incredibly good friend, who was a obsessed Eldar player, is the guy who originally got me excited about Eldar, and was kind of like one of our favorite people on the planet. So I had one of his knights painted by him. And so I took this knight painted by him. He was a big knight player too. He played anything that was a knight: Imperial Knights, Chaos Knights, Wraith Knights, anything. So I got to take his Wraith Knight to the tournament and like kill things with it, and like have this avatar of my friend, right? This, like, his soul was inside of it, and it was going around killing people at a tournament. It was really nice.
Yeah,
I liked that energy. Of our friend passed away, but he's here. I like that a lot. I believe that, not to get spiritual, but I believe that a big part of how people exist after they're gone is how we all remember them. And so that was just a really special moment that I thought I would share. But now I'm not playing with Wraith Knights, just to make sure everybody understands.
That's sad.
It is a little bit sad. They've actually never been anything but frustrating in the time that I've played Eldar. Like, they were like bad, wildly broken. Everyone's bad. Bad. Like, that's the Wraith Knight journey.
Although, can I point out, just like Eldar, like so many of their detachments just have like 4 to 6 good stratagems.
Yeah.
I was like looking at the ghost ones just to like check back again it. And it's like, ignore hit and damage modifiers for a unit.
Yeah.
And that includes with like your Bright Lance shooting something.
Is that the Guardian one? Because the Guardian one is amazing if you could do the stuff on things that aren't Guardians.
No, this is in the Ghost Council one. You can do this on raids. You pick one unit that your Psyker can see, and one unit within 12 of your Psyker. And that unit, all that unit's attacks ignore hit and damage modifiers.
Yeah, sure.
-1 damage in shooting or fight phase for 1 CP.
Mm-hmm.
Devastating wounds for Wraith Blades or Wraith Lords or Wraith Knights in melee. Count a Wraith unit to be within 12 of your Psyker, even if it's not.
Mm-hmm. That's needed. That's what Seer Council is missing.
Spirit Token, sticky and objective. Crushing Strides, Tank Shock for either Wraith Blades or Wraith Lords. Then you combine this with getting Combat Focus and getting +1 to hit wound against any, or +1 to wound against anything that is +1 to wound against anything that killed your stuff, right? That you killed your Psychers, and then the normal benefits of getting plus to your weapon skill and whatever when you're close to a Psyker that normally Wraiths get. That makes a lot of there's a lot of oomph there, but the strats are all good.
Yeah. Okay, so that is Eldar time. When Eldar is good, you sometimes just have to listen to me talk about Eldar.
I like it. It's all right. Maybe I'll throw the Wraith list on TTS.
Well, for those that might not know me as well, there are a few people who have played more tournament games of Eldar since 8th edition. I absolutely love the way that Eldar plays. I was thinking about this when I was playing against Chuck on Sunday. Chuck is pretty good at managing armies that have durable units that try not to die. I hate that. I would rather hide my things and then accept that they're dead when they go out to do their job. And so when I was playing against T-Suns, I was very different than anyone else playing against T-Suns, because the T-Suns players are telling me that all the damage profiles on their guns, and I said, none of that matters. I don't care. Why not? I said, because you have enough shots to get by my invuls, and that's all that matters. If you see my things, they're dead. Understood. Let's move on. And because the 70-point dude kills any one of my units. He doesn't need the rubrics with him to do it. So anyways,
I do think
that's how I play 40k. Oh, I lost my thing that I was expecting to lose. Okay, on with my turn.
I do think it's funny when a 1 wound model takes 8 damage.
Takes 8 damage?
Yeah, like when they shoot your 1 wound model with I'm shooting you with a melta-gun. It's damage 8. You're like, whatever.
Yeah.
One orc boy is just
yeah.
Got here late. These new night points are a bit low. The 11 on Big Boys now.
Well, let me tell you, KR, Noah put it in the good section. I put it in the ugly section. So I think that tells you.
Party.
No, that yes, they're too low.
Party.
Everyone agrees. We have consensus.
There are several large knights of mine that are looking across the battlefield right now saying, party.
Yeah, let's roll. So Noah, is our show going to be at the same time going forward?
Yes, because I will probably have hard cap at 8:15 because on Wednesday, but because this is kind of like a 9 to 5-ish job. A lot of them are West Coast. Most people aren't going to be starting work before 9. Obviously, there's some times where I might have a conflict, but most of the time, I think as long as I'm off by 8:15, we should be okay.
Okay, great. All right, everybody. Hopefully, I get to go to the tournament this weekend. It's entirely on my house selling and what's going on there and what needs to be accomplished. I am treating it as maybe I go. Let's prepare to go. Like, I'm not going to be upset if I can't go. It's one of those situations.
For some reason, you can't go to a 2-day event. Do not forget that Aegis has an RTT this Saturday.
Yeah, that's also appealing.
Which I will probably be at playing partner with my daughter. We're probably going to play Knights or Guard.
Oh, maybe I play race.
Yeah,
Aegis doesn't have a paint requirement, right, for the RTTs?
Don't have a paint requirement. Bring whatever you want. Not for RTTs.
I think RTTs shouldn't have a paint requirement because I think that if you were a serious tournament player, RTTs are where you go for practice.
Ian says go 9D luck.
He wants me to do well, and I appreciate that about Ian.
9 goods. He wants you to do 9 times good.
9 rounds. They'll also be Tacoma Open and also do well enough to not be in the shadow round. That's the people's elbow, is it?
Yeah, every time I think about beating someone at something, it's like in the Marine Corps they would tell you to do elbow strikes. So every time I'm just like,
Fair enough. Well, at a time where the world is crazy and insane, we're glad we could take an hour and a half to distract you with the silliness of tiny soldiers. Sorry. We are thrilled to keep doing this show, and we'll be back next week where hopefully I'll get to talk about a GT, but if I don't, we will talk about something else fascinating and interesting. And so for right now, he's Noah Badome. I'm Colin because someone has to be, and we'll be back later. Bye, everybody.
Catch you later. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.